what would you say was the most difficult task, or maybe there were a couple there that to bring that crossover and bring Armillo to life? Because it's one thing, like you said, it's one thing to just have music, and it's another thing to make it engaging and bring it. The gamer feels like it's alive. This world is alive, and this character is alive. What was the hardest task bringing Armillo to life, and then bringing in that spacey, ethereal feel without making it boring or lackluster, and making it very engaging?
Most of that, if not all of that, comes to sound design. And the sound design in most games is a ridiculous amount of assets and events that you have to trigger in the game. Now, a lot of these events may end up being subliminal because you don't necessarily notice them as an end user. But if you go and turn off the music in Armillo and start listening to what's going on, there's a sound attached to every single thing that moves in the world, from the emitters to the actions that you do, to even Armillo's breathing when he's in the parallel universe, right? There's a very subliminal cue where he's breathing very hard. And that's because I was trying to convey the information to the end user. This is a polluted world, and you're not going to survive in there. You're going to suffocate. So we went and actually recorded a bunch of breathing, and then we interactively stitched it together depending on the severity of the lack of available air. And so that increases as you're in the parallel universe more and more. So there's probably about 1,200 or 1,400 sound effects in there, which translate to over about 600 cues. So there's out of those 600, there's probably 550 cues that are basically sound, non-music related. So all these things working together are what creates the environment of life when you see the visuals, because otherwise you have a silent environment. And it's pretty easy for people to understand that there's no sound related to all these visuals, therefore stuff is dead. They might not understand that intrinsically, but subliminally it's a message that's conveyed all the time, right? So when you're looking at the AAA games, when we worked at EA, all that stuff was there, and we had people working on ambiences, we had different people working on emitters. There was usually a speech person, there's somebody doing sound effects, and usually somebody would do a final pass of the mix. So when all those elements came back, to balance them all out so that it feels natural, so that you believe the world is there. And when you want to break that believability by putting something that's surreal, it's also believed because you've created this illusion of a real world, and now you're switching it up. So all that stuff is complex and time consuming. And it's only when you get all that stuff right that a world comes to life. So the challenge was just getting all those assets in game. And then we had to write a bunch of tools to deal with how those assets self-mix themselves in game. So depending on the environment and the states, the mix of all the levels changes depending on what we scripted out. So getting all that stuff done takes a lot of time. And that's probably the biggest challenge, is getting that balance of everything right, as opposed to, hey, here's a whack of music that covers everything, but there's really nothing else going on.
Well, some more solid stuff from Yanni there. Be sure to check out Armillo, coming to the Wii U eShop. This is Mike Bowerman for the Nintendo Objective.